Hi everyone, my name is Esteban Plaza Jennings. I'm the brand manager for the new 2021 Ford Bronco. And I'm here today with Gary and Wayne with these awesome Baja Broncos. And we're gonna give you a little walk around of these two trucks. So Gary, I don't know if you want to start off maybe talking about what the Baja Bronco is, kind of the history behind it and what we're looking at here.
So when these Broncos were new and popular, people started taking them off-road. So Bill Stroppe was a guy working out of California, and he got involved in the Baja racing. And so they started modifying these Broncos for off-road. So basically a Baja Bronco is a Bronco that you ordered from Ford and sent to Bill Stroppe out in California, and they made certain modifications, and basically it was a street version of their racing vehicle. So they did a number of modifications to where these could actually be pretty good off-road, as a brand new vehicle. So they added a shock at each wheel, so it has 8 shocks on it. And they radius this front fender area here, so a little bit more clearance off-road. They added a better roll bar, a better steering wheel, and they flared the rear quarter panel for, to clear bigger tires. Some of the really cool things though that you could get the engine upgraded. You could have high performance pieces and parts put on there, but the most special part is that you could get an automatic transmission, and Ford didn't offer an automatic until '73. So these 71 and 2 Baja Broncos with an automatic, that's a pretty special piece. They had to modify a Ford truck steering column to fit into this Bronco. They actually initially used, I think, even a GM steering box to make the conversion. But there were only roughly 100 of them, so it wasn't that big of a deal, and not everyone got power steering. So they just sourced some of those parts, had it all figured out, and you would just order it. And they would get pretty pricey, really, if you threw a lot of these options at one of these Baja Broncos. But they were obviously very successful building image for people that ended up going out and buying a regular Ford Bronco and dreamed of, a Baja Bronco.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Wayne, maybe give a little backstory on these two trucks. Where'd you find them? How long have you had them?
Well, both of these we've had for probably close to 4 years. I mean, when we started kind of getting interested in these, we just tried to find a really nice survivor. That's where this one here is. It came out of Idaho. And then we found that one, and then Gary, actually, his shop there in Denver, they actually completely restored it. So they made them for 5 years. You had 71, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yep.
She made them 5 years. They did about 100 each year. And so what we've tried to do is get one of each year, and we've done that now. And so this is our first time we've actually had time to get to one of these Ford events. We knew it was going to be a special year, especially with the 2021 being shown at this event, so that's why we wanted to be here. In fact, we have a couple of them on order, and that's our plan, to buy either white or orange ones. We haven't figured it out, and then make them look like these, and so they'll be on display with our other ones. No, they have a great following. Everybody really enjoys the Stroppe Broncos, and it's just a lot of fun to share them with the other enthusiasts and the media like this.
So maybe talk a little bit more. You said you could get a different automatic option on it. What were some of the engine upgrades as well that you could get on these?
So you could get a Shelby sourced aluminum intake manifold, a 4-barrel carburetor, because the best stock Ford Bronco is just a 302 with a 2-barrel carburetor. So you could upgrade that with headers. You could even get a 351 installed. That's a really rare option. The C4 automatic transmission, they had to cast their own adapter to fit to an automatic transmission. They said Stroppe right on them. Really? So that was quite a conversion.
The tires and wheels are pretty special too, but they did a lot with those, and these are really neat. These are actually Gates Commando tires made in Denver.
Wow.
They're almost impossible to find. We have them on this set, and then we have them on the Stroppe chassis over there. But you see, you could do the was it the white rims, the silver rims, or the aluminum rims, or something else they changed. Then they had this one this has a winch on it, but then they also had the Cactus Smasher, which was just like that's what they called it. Cactus Smasher is actually a guard, but the other one over there we have has it on it.
Yep. And you could also get a complete roll cage.
Okay.
First, I mean, these have an upgraded roll bar.
Okay.
But the roll cage was a really a big option because it welded all the way down into the frame.
Did it come up to the A pillar here?
Yes.
Or was it okay?
Yep.
So it was the
Yeah,
full length of the passenger compartment.
This one here that we restored is really unique in that it has just it has a bulkhead like a half cab pickup would have, and then they ordered it without this side trim. And each one of those things make it roughly one of one or two, really unusual, which was kind of fun. No two are exactly alike typically. So this is a really particularly rare one. It's a 1971 as well. And
were these wheels factory? The chrome steelies?
Yep. So you could get this wheel. You could get it painted. You could get an aluminum wheel. Also, mostly the 71s almost always have these chrome steel wheels or white painted wheels. And then as the years went by, then you would find a lot more of the aluminum wheels. That one's chrome wheel also. But our chassis that we have, that was a display unit, it has the aluminum wheels on it. So they really opened up the catalog, and they were pretty smart about that. They sold a lot of accessory items, and they even would sell these as like a kit. So you could buy the brackets that they made to add the extra shocks and things like that. You could order that through their catalog. So they added an extra brace here for off-road to the bumper, so it wouldn't bend
see that. Yep.
so easy. Yep. That was one of the neat additions to these. And then of course the paint scheme. And then through research that Wayne's done and people that we've met and talked to, they made a couple of these that were all one solid color, which is actually nowadays people don't care so much for the solid color ones, but it was kind of a unique thing that they did.
So what we have here, this would have been the display chassis that Stroppe would have made back in 1970-71 to showcase all the parts and all the different items that they did to the Baja Broncos. It's kind of like what you guys are doing today with the new 2020s or 2021s. So it was just neat to see all the different items they did, and maybe Gary could touch on some of those items there.
So obviously the most notable thing would be the automatic transmission. That was a pretty big deal. You could get an upgraded engine with a 351 with this, it's marked Stroppe, but it's like a Shelby aluminum intake manifold. This would be the extra shock mount here. Power steering, really big deal, not available on a regular Ford Bronco at that time. The cooler there is nice for off-roading. These extra braces for out in the desert hitting things or whatever, and then the Cactus Smasher grill there, I guess, guard to keep your front end in good shape. But they really had some neat stuff that you could accessorize your vehicle out with. Dual exhaust, of course, would be an important thing. The aluminum wheels, and standard on all Baja Broncos were these Gates Commando tires, which are no one's ever reproduced these as far as we know. They're really rare. I mean, they were around only during the time these Broncos were around, so it's really neat to see an original set of those. But it was a very capable vehicle. It had this was an airbag option here. This was the extra shock mount for the rear there. So a really neat package that they put together based on all their off-roading that they had done in the Baja races. Starting from the early 60s all the way up into the 80s, they raced these Broncos very successfully. All right, so to back up even a little bit farther, before there was a Baja Bronco, they developed all this through their off-road racing, and to get to their races, they had a big Ford C-Series cab-over truck that was their tow vehicle. And they kept that tow vehicle all the way into almost modern times within the last few years. And Wayne was able to buy the whole entire rig, the truck and the trailer and everything. And we've set out to restore that piece of history that really ties in with the Baja Broncos. And they did a little bit of other racing with it, Pikes Peak and things like that, but there's a lot of really cool, fun photos of Bill Stroppe and his crew. And basically this is a 1965 cab over Mercury, because they made a Mercury cab over in Canada, and that was significant because they originally started NASCAR racing Mercuries, Bill Stroppe did, so they carried that over into this truck. So these pieces are the pieces that they modified and set up on this truck. As the years went on, they wanted more power, so this is a 70s Ford 429 engine that they had modified up to travel across country and down into Mexico and whatnot. So this is really a great piece of Ford and Bronco history here that Wayne has decided to have us bring back to like brand new. So it's a really exciting project. We never worked on a semi before, which is pretty cool, but it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of moving parts here, and it was really a treat to get to do, you know, a historic piece like this.
What condition was it in when you guys got it?
So it was very complete when we got it, and it had sat very near to the ocean in Long Beach, California, where their shop was at. So the roof seam had quite a bit of rust, so we actually bought 3 cab overs to use as parts cars, and we took the roof skin off of one of them and re-spot welded it back on just like the factory would have done it. But all these working parts and the engine, transmission, all that stuff is all original to this vehicle. Wheels, tires, the cab is in really good condition. So it was really preserved. Used, you know, pretty well used. They got a lot of use out of the thing. But when it's all done, it will have the truck and the trailer back to how it was back in its glory days. There's a little machine shop inside the trailer, so they would haul 1, maybe 2 race vehicles in there, and they had a Bridgeport and a drill press and welders and stuff like that. So, you know, off-road racing, you break a lot of parts. So it was a rolling machine shop. So yeah, it has a mild upgraded camshaft in it. It has an aluminum intake manifold and a little bit of a bigger Holley carburetor on there, and some 70s era ignition components, which we just went with to keep it true to right how they had it. So it's hot rodded a little bit. It makes I believe 440 horsepower, a little bit more torque than that, so it ought to move this truck, you know, pretty good.
And it's wild, you look at some, like when you had the throttle, so like your throttle had to be here.
Oh wow,
you know,
look at that.
You know, and then then you're shifting.
It's right there in the middle.
Yeah, this one right here. I mean, look at the shifter where you had to.
That's the shifter?
Yeah, this had to go back here to go clear back to the transmission.
And then the drive shaft comes onto here.
But then everything had to be able to fold up.
Or excuse me, stern shaft, yeah. Yep.
But everything had to be able to fold up without getting in a bind.
Right.
So I mean, that took a little bit of engineering.
And this is all the AC plumbing?
No air conditioning. That's all air.
Air. All the copper was air. Yeah.
Oh, for the brake pedal.
Yeah.
Hydraulic or air pressure brakes and stuff.
Wow.
And there's a big compressor for that. It does have power steering.
Right.
2-speed axle.
Where'd the shifter for the axle come in? How does that work?
It is. It's just a vacuum operated procedure basically. So when you're driving down the road in 4th gear, typically you pull up on a lever, let off on the gas, and then it automatically shifts it at that point. Yeah. So we had purchased a fire truck about 250 miles away from home to get this radiator and some interior pieces and stuff out of it, and top speed was 45 miles an hour. And as I drove along, I had to pull down the visor and read about how to put it in the.
You drove the fire truck.
Yeah, I drove the fire truck, and so I learned how to do the 2-speed axle. Then I could get up to 65 miles an hour. So
what happened to the fire truck?
We still have it. We didn't need so much off of it that I hated to see it get parted out entirely. So I got a different radiator, which was inferior to use in this instance, but it'll be okay for parades, I think. And so it's all back together and running again now. So, and I have a guy I think that's going to buy it. So, but yeah, no, it was pretty fun.